All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Rumsey.
Mr. Rumsey, I find that hilarious. This is Brendan. Good morning. Or good afternoon. Good morning to you.
Is Mr. Rumsey like your dad's? Is that like your dad
Yeah,
thing?
for sure.
Okay.
So sometimes I get called at the office, and that's the last time anyone calls me that. So.
Oh, well, noted. It's like when people call me Tony. I'm like, no. That was my grandfather. That's not me. Yeah.
Mr. Rumsey.
Well, first year on the board, right?
That's correct.
So what is your current role and position with RIA? Because you're not just on the board, you do a few other things as well.
Yeah, so board of director member this year. They got me. I've always helped on the pricing task force, and then they put me on the finance committee. So we just had our first meeting the other day. So that's kind of fun and interesting. And then on the membership committee as well. So just trying to help out where I can.
You get your fingers in a lot of slices of the pie there.
For sure. Thankfully, I have a little more time now to kind of help a little more than before when I was fully operating the business day after day. So it's fun.
So for those of you, like, it's so funny. If anybody is in like the bottom east quadrant of the United States, I always bring your name up. I'm like, yeah, like Brendan Rumsey. And they're like, oh, yeah. I know the super nice guy. And so I have this line in my head. I'm like, if people don't like Brendan Rumsey, that's their problem, because you are such a connector of people. And, like everybody I talk to is always talking about how kind and how generous you are with your time. So how did you get your start in restoration?
Well, my background is remodeling, addition. So my father was a general contractor. I try to get away from the family business many times, just packing up my bags and leaving, and always on my way back, my dad would call me, hey, I got this new project popping off. You mind coming down and helping out? So remodels, additions, mainly we're in Columbia, South Carolina, so home of the Gamecocks, if y'all know what that is, the University of South Carolina. It's pretty much runs this town here. But we will do additions, remodels in the neighborhoods around the campus. So that's kind of like what we got our start in. And then I was a trim carpenter and cabinet builder as well. Would frame our additions, and then I would help, me and my father would do the trim and cabinet. So that's how we got into it. Then 2008, similar to a lot of other people, the recession came through. We had a lot of work, went to zero, and then we were looking for anything. I don't know if many people remember Craigslist, but we were so desperate for work. I put some ads out on Craigslist for handyman work, roofing patch work, whatever. And I had someone reach out to me, and she was a realtor, and she's like, hey, meet me at McDonald's one day. I have this business proposition for you. And I was like, this is a little interesting and a little concerning, but hey, I was desperate, right? So went to McDonald's, ordered a coffee, and she was working with a roofing company that went bankrupt, and she had a lot of commissions from roofing claims that she had that she lost. So she said, hey, tomorrow meet me at this neighborhood this time, and we're going to go look at some roofs. So I started working with her. She would kind of be the sales rep, and we would find roofs that had hail damage, wind damage. And then, she would wave me on over. I'll do the roof inspection. And then she was kind of like the sales rep. And it kind of started from there. 2009, started doing roofing claims all the way. We've done roofing claims for a long time, but not as much anymore. But that's how I got started doing roofing claims. Then a buddy of mine was working for a mitigation company, and he recommended, hey, roofing's great and all, but you need to look into mitigation, reconstruction. So we kind of partnered up, him, my father, we all got together. I formed the company in 2011, and then they came on as partners in 2013. So cool. Kind of moved away from the remodeling, new construction work over to the restoration. So that's how we got into it.
Yeah. And you guys have expanded service lines too, right? So you're not just mitigation and reconstruction, but you're also playing in a bunch of different sandboxes.
We gotten into carpet cleaning to kind of like push on, try to get into the commercial market in
Yeah.
our markets. But that's mainly it: reconstruction, mitigation, and carpet cleaning. Of course, mold and abatements as well. But anything to full service restoration. So
Awesome. So it sounds like this might not be the best way to phrase this question. I'm gonna switch it up. So typically I ask, why did you choose restoration? But I think in your case, why do you think restoration chose you? Because it felt like you tried to run away from it several times and it just kept landing in your lap, man.
Yeah, I kept trying to get out of construction. I did not want to be in construction or restoration. Went to college a few times, and I'm all over the place. I'm easily distracted. That didn't work out well, but I just kept coming back to it. And I fell in love with restoration for the same reason a lot of other people do. You get to help people in their time of need and you get paid to do the work. And it was the coolest concept ever, because doing the additions and remodels and new homes was great. But a lot of times, it's just different. You're dealing with people high net worth, they want to add something to their house. But when you're doing restoration, it could be someone, not making a lot of money, but they have an insurance policy and they need help, and you're like Superman. And I still think it's awesome, where you just show up and you have the answers. They don't have the answers. And even now, with some of the carrier contractor relationships, like just helping them in some process through that, when they're being told, like, for example, I had a job not too long ago. They were told you only have $3,000 for mitigation in your policy. And, they were devastated. I mean, their whole house is flooded. Put them in touch with a few other people. And of course, that wasn't the case. And sure enough, everything's covered, and we're getting their house back together. And they're very excited because they thought they were taking a huge loss, and that family wasn't really, husband has health issues. They have children, they got hospital bills, and just be able to provide that like help, turn that day around. And that's the kind of stuff we love, and our team loves it as well. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm always like, mitigation is the young guy who wants to be Superman. Like, that's where you find it, right? How did you get started with the RIA?
Actually, Ben Justison reached out. I was a big Justison fan. I went to his class in 2017. Was the same year we were about to go bankrupt that year. Like, we were having issues in the business. We were accepting kind of like what the adjusters were telling us what we could charge for, and we were like in a really bad spot. And I kind of was very desperate. And somehow I got in touch with Ben Justison. Me and my business partner at the time flew out to Seattle and went to one of his classes out there. And it just changed my world, just learning what you can create custom pricing and all these things you can charge for. And that was a turning point for our business. But he also, he's a mentor of mine, I would say, in a way too. But he encouraged me to, participate in the RIA, but also encouraged me to help out on the pricing task force. That's how I got involved. I've only been involved in the RIA probably it was a couple of years after that. So that was 2017, 2018. So it was probably around 2020 I got involved. And I like it a lot. I mean, I love it. It's a really cool place. Everyone's got regional things. You got your Facebook groups. We also have association in the Southeast, MCRA, but it's nothing national. And it was like the one organization I felt that was national, where everyone kind of unified and came together. And when you go to the events, you would see all these guys and women from these other groups, but they're all in one space. So I found that very exciting as well. So
I always key up when we go through the legislative stuff, because I feel like it's the butterfly effect, right? Like, if New Jersey decides to enact X legislation, then all of a sudden it starts happening everywhere else. Whereas if we're operating regionally, right, we, particularly for me out in Hawaii, it's like, who knows what the heck's going on in the rest of the world. But I know that task force in particular has every bit of legislation under investigation, under review, They're looking at what's going on across all 50 states and making sure that we're advocating the correct position on behalf of the industry.
Yeah. And I would say too, with as a builder before, me and my father were always part of the National Home Builders Association. And we always enjoyed that as well. And that was another reason, it was really cool to get familiar with the RIA and then see that, hey, this is a real legitimate association that, very similar, different in size. I was looking at the size of that Home Builders Association. It's 140,000 members. We're sitting at getting close to 1,700 members. So a lot of course, there's more builders, but there's a lot more room to add more members to the RIA. So that's what was kind of excited me too, to be part of the membership committee. Always love getting people involved, and some of the smaller guys that actually pull the trigger. And a lot of times when I talk to them, they want to join. They just, how it is like the last thing on their mind while they're running around sucking water. But sometimes I just nudge them a little bit, and it's really nice to see them actually come on board. So, and get the benefit from it. So
my question is always, do you use Xactimate? And I'm like, and if the answer is yes, then I'm like, cool, you can join and it's free.
Yeah.
Because of the affinity partnership we have. Like, if that's all you did, that'd be cool. But let me tell you about the other things and how you can actually get paid to be a part of this association and how much value we can create for you. It's a pretty no-brainer value proposition. So why did you choose to run for the board?
It wasn't really something I was thinking of. Katie Smith reached out and was like, hey, this would be a really good opportunity for you. And I think you could really do some good. And I was like, I'll throw my name in the hat and see what happens. I wasn't really expecting to be, nominated for it. Well, not nominated, but voted for it. And, was very excited that I was and able to help. But, I think just like I nudge others, I need nudges too. So, Katie gave me that nudge, and there's a lot of others too that always kind of like nudge me along in the right direction sometimes. But that was the reason why. So
I feel that for sure. That's how I'm here. It was Jeff Moore for me.
Nice.
He reached out and he was like, you should do this. And I was like, really? You think so, man? Like, I don't think I'm that cool. And he's like, no, trust me, you're that cool. And I'm like, oh, that's flattering. Okay, I'll give it a shot, And
well, that's how it is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, now it's at the point where I'm like, like my term's coming up and I'm like, I'm not done. Like I have so much more I want to do while I'm here, And so I'm going to go ahead and run again and cross my fingers. But it's really, really rewarding work that we get to do on behalf of our industry association for sure.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt.
So looking ahead, what does the restoration industry look like in 5 years? Like if you had to guess, and I'm open to wild speculation. This is always a fun conversation. What do you think it looks like?
Well, of course, consolidation is going to change things in a way. Bigger players, but I think it still looks similar to something today. I think water losses will not be as plentiful. I think there's going to be new technology. Maybe that's more 10 years, but new technology is going to help reduce a lot of the larger water losses. But there's still always going to be a need there. I think there's always going to be fires. There's going to be car and tree impacts. And I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be kind of like where we're at now. But I do think the restorers that embrace technology is going to run away with it as well. So, I think there will always be smaller independent companies. And I think the smaller independent companies will probably have the better service as well. As we see in our market, the consolidation taking place, you see these wonderful companies, they come in, buy them out, and then that company is not the same company as before. But I feel like with the storms, they're only going to get more intense, and especially where we're at in the Carolinas and Georgia, with Helene. I mean, we're in cat duty event right now in our Augusta office and Greenville office. No one expected that storm was going to knock down all those trees that it did, and just created devastation through Augusta and parts of Greenville. So no one was prepared for that. I think that's going to be the norm. So there's going to be a big need for us. And again, I think too, trades, my dad told me for years, stick with the trades. Like these guys are dying out. I hate to say it, and it's the truth. And it's sad. I have subs I love that are pass away, and I mean, they're working in their 60s, some in their early 70s, and there's no one there to replace them. So I think there's going to be a lot, when there is supply and demand, right? Like if you're not going to have that many decent carpenters or framers and whatnot, the price is just going to go up for that. But hopefully getting more people involved in that. But I think there's going to be a big need in 5 years. I think, if you sell or you don't sell, and I think there's going to be plenty of work for everyone, kind of like there is now. So,
yep. So my brother is 13 years younger than me, and kind of did like a little bit of community college and didn't know what the heck he wanted to be when he grew up, and took some advice from myself and a few others. And, the advice was basically like, look, if you're not going to go to college, get into the trades, do something, plumber, electrician, HVAC, whatever. Right. And so he, based off of his experience in working with pipes previously, he decided he could not handle what goes into a sewer line anymore.
Yeah.
His growth out too much. And then he looked at like carpentry and was like, that's a lot of tools.
Yeah.
And so he became an electrician by default. Right. But
nice.
Journeyed out 2 years ago. And at 29, like even adjusting for inflation, dude's making more than I was when I was 29, running a branch office for a restoration company. And I'm like, did I screw up, man? Should I have just stayed in the field? I don't know, but I totally agree with you, right? Like he's a 29-year-old journeyman electrician, and his future, like, dude, do you want to run your own business? Cool. Do you want to just, bend conduit and fish wires and just do that the rest of your life? Because you can put it all away, and he's got no debt from college. And so, he's just crushing it. I'm super proud of him.
And it's so hard in our market. It's so hard to find electricians. And my favorite guy, he's talking about retiring, and I'm like, no, man, we need you to stick around,
Yeah.
But trying to get, and that's what we try to do too, is get the young people excited about the trades and the opportunities and the possibilities, and we have a great group of young people at our company, but even outside our company, that we're trying to motivate to stick with it and get in it. So,
yeah, I had a conversation with somebody who's in high school the other day, and I was like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And they're like, "Oh, I want to be an influencer." And I'm like, "Okay, could you be like a trades influencer? Like be a tradesperson, but also be an influencer? Because then if the influencer thing doesn't work out, at least you're still making money."
Yeah. Hey, there's plenty of them out there too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. What advice do you have for the next generation of restorers? Folks that are younger than us, cutting their teeth in the industry, maybe within their first 3 years?
Hang in there, like patience, we have even our young guys that come in, they want to know how can they get to the next level, and they're not looking for, they want to do it in 9 months, but just being patient. And we use examples. Like we have guys on our leadership team, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they were starting out as technicians, and we do that. We show them the path. And that's probably what I would say is be resolute, but be kind. A lot of times some of these carriers can get nasty sometimes, some of the adjusters, and, just even our technicians, we tell them, hey, when someone's popping off, be resolute, but kind, and then be patient as well and work hard, and, it's not magic. It'll come to fruition if you do those things.
Yeah. That is reflective of what I would say, which is understand why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as you constantly are anchoring on, why do I show up to work every day? Because this is an industry where it is far too hard and far too complex to take people who want an easy path. you have to have a motivation that's beyond yourself in order to even exist in this industry. And I think for that reason, we have a lot of great people in this industry, because if you're not a good human at your core, like the industry just chews you up and spits you out and sends you running for the hills, right? And so if we constantly are anchoring on and focusing on why we are here, we will always find the motivation through hard times and the patience through hard times. And like, yeah, obviously that applies to just about dang near everything in life. But I think that we all could stand to that reminder of, like, even myself, some days I'm like sitting at my desk and feel like the world's imploding on me. And I'm like, okay, why the hell am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've got more gas in the tank than I thought. Let's go, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like defining your why is important. And we do that with our team. And ours is, not personal growth, but professional growth for every employee, and focusing on the employee. My mindset used to be different. It was always focused on the customer. Then I think we joined Pivot and kind of changed our mindset of, hey, let's focus on the employee, and the employee, if you're investing in them, they're automatically going to take care of the customer even better than you could ever do preaching, taking care of the customer. So, but that's what our why has been. And that's been mine for a while. Why I try to connect people and help people. I enjoy helping people, but getting that personal and professional growth, and watching these guys and women come in, 18, 19 years old. And some of them now, I got a couple weddings to go to this spring. They're now awesome. 30 years old. And just seeing them start their lives is just, man, it's so rewarding. But I have bad days too, man. And some of my team members, I'll share with them when I'm having a bad day.
Yep.
And I was having a real rough day one day, and why do I do this? And I was kind of frustrated about some things. And our MIT manager came over, and he's like, yeah, Ben, he's like, I'll tell you why you do this. He's like, in 2019, Ben was delivering pizzas. Now Ben makes over 6 figures, and he just bought a house, and him and his girlfriend are starting their life. And, it's so cool to have people underneath you that are not scared to have those conversations with you and kind of remind you and remind you why it's rewarding. Because like you said, it's a tough industry, and not every day is a perfect day, but it is a very rewarding experience in the end, once you like look at everything without the blinders on,
Yeah. And like part of it is for me, I just can't imagine doing anything different. I don't know.
For sure.
I had like a brief moment where I'm like, I bet I could build some sweet software. And then I was talking to my brother, who's like a project developer for a software development firm. And I was like, so what's your day like? And he told me what his day's like. And I'm like, I can't sit at a desk that long. No. Like, it's just not going to happen for me, man. It's just not going to happen. But yeah. Well, cool. Anything in closing? Anything to wrap us up? I like cascade your freaking committee message right now. Like, what do you want for membership?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a goal of 3,000 members, and that's what I'm pushing on is, hey, get more members and spreading the word. Just make it happen. Make it come to fruition. And a lot of it's like just communicating with the smaller contractors, outfitters. So.
Oh, looks like we lost you. Give you a second, see if you come back. Hopefully there's not another storm.
Oh, did I lose you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you glitched out for a second. I'm like, oh no, another hurricane.
No, but like I was saying, like the RIA is a great association, but it needs money to kind of move the needle in a lot of ways. And, just getting the more members is going to help get more money, which is going to help them be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So, like, again, like the National Home Builders Association, 140,000 members, we got a ton of money to get stuff done, and they get it done. So hopefully, that'll be us in the next few years. So.
Right on. Well, I would be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity to plug our upcoming convention, April 28th and 30th in West Palm Beach. I think early bird closes at the end of the month. So if you have not had the opportunity to register, do it now. Like, and from what I understand, hotel rooms are going to fill up too. So you might want to grab your hotel room if you want to be close to convention. And this is the one event throughout the year that universally, like, I'm like, do not miss. In fact, I was going back and forth with John Kowalski on, he's like, well, which one should I go to? I'm like, you got to be at RIA. Yeah. Like, don't go to anything else. If this is the only one you can make it to, show up at RIA. It's the best for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And it's going to be in Florida. It's going to be nice weather. I mean, can't beat it. So
I got a bone to pick with Florida. It's a 14-hour flight for me, but I know that's not everybody. That is true.
That is a long ways. Hey, you decided to live out there, so no, you pay the price. No,
I believe me. I get. You know, they always say there's no hate in the 808 because that's our area code here, but there's a lot of hate that comes across the Pacific for living.
Oh, for sure. That's an awesome place, man.
I always make a joke. I'm like, people are like, so what's the weather like? I'm like, I don't want to tell you because you're just going to be mad at me. But it was like 52 degrees this morning. I was chilly.
Yeah, it's a little cool.
Yeah.
Well, 71 here, so it's feeling pretty good. So I told my wife yesterday we're at the zoo with the little ones, and I was like, man, this feels like San Diego or Hawaii, you know? So living that Anthony Nelson lifestyle. So
well, enjoy it, man, because it's going to get about ready to get weird.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again, Anthony. You take care.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendan. Take care, man. Aloha. Bye.